Are you serious? Are you serious? Wow, you're here for a powerful special edition today of the Coming Apocalypse. Today, we're going to talk about money and the mark of the beast. You know, there's something about this. God wants to bless his people. He even said the Lord takes pleasure in the prosperity of his saints. Okay? And God wants to bless you going in and bless you going out. Bless you in the city and the field. And so when you understand that God's blessings are important for you to have a family and have a home and have a job and have opportunities, we all pray God bless us and help us. Yet in the back of our brain, we've been conditioned by the lies of Satan, I think, to think that, hey, if you're blessed too good, you might go bad. Or what about the mark of the beast? What do we do during that time? And what about gold and silver? Should we touch it or not? You know, so people are confused. There's a lot of missed messages. I thought, why don't we ask an absolute expert in economics over at TradeGeniusAcademy.com, at www.TradeGeniusAcademy.com. We're bringing in today who is also a very strong, devout Christian, family man, businessman, who is focused on these very areas, including all the things go on in the world. Why not bring him on to help us understand money and the mark of the beast? So with us today, Bob Kudla. Bob, great to have you today.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
So I guess we got to ask you the question. I mean, look, first of all, he's got some news. I know the stock market's down a little bit today, about 400 points or something. But gold up over $1,800 an ounce. Silver up over $18, I think, and 26 cents an ounce. So, you know, we got precious metals up. We got stock market down a little, but not where it was when this COVID thing hit. And, you know, then again, there's Bitcoin out there, and there's all kinds of ways that you can trade. And even though the stock market goes like this, when a person's in control of their own destiny, they don't have to ride along with like your 401k does. You get control of your destiny, and that's what you teach. But we want to bring this thought to you. Money and the mark of the beast. Bob, what is your thoughts on this? So you're a spiritual guy. Tell us what you think about money and the mark of the beast.
Yeah, the first thing I want to say to your audience is that God's not going to sneak it up on you. Okay.
Amen. Okay. Amen.
So it's going to be a conscious decision to serve and worship Satan.
I agree.
With his earthly king and the Antichrist. So I just want to disabuse people of the notion of, we're now in the mark of the beast this, mark of the beast that. Now, we're in Babylon, which is different than the mark of the beast. But, we're like ambassadors living in a country. We're still part of it until God takes us out of there. So that's the first thing I want to say to people, because I hear it all the time. I got to disconnect from this system is the mark of the beast. No, it's Babylon, but it's not the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast, I think we're starting to see some raindrops of what it could look like, with the way the Antifa folks and the BLM folks are acting and, going into stores and going into churches and the cancel culture. I think we're starting to, God's giving us those fig leaves so we can kind of see what it's going to probably look like. But, the mark of the beast is a worldwide system. You opt out of it and you're a beggar till you die. And so it's going to be pretty clear what it is. Now, we could kind of talk about what forms it could take. We see all the infrastructure. I've been in, before I did Trade Genius, I worked for basically a financial software company, and we were on the front end of a lot of this stuff. When I was in the Marine Corps, we paid people in cash, and by the time I left my corporate job 25 years later, we were cashless completely, and people didn't even have to go to the banks to get their money. And now we're at a point now where people are starting to say, hey, how do we solve some of the world's problems, right? So now you have the ability with the internet to basically digitize everything. And now you're starting to see, there's an organization called the Bank of International Settlements. It's out of Zurich. Most people have never heard of it. It's the central bank of central banks. And what they're advocating now and they're pushing onto the scene is basically a, digital Fed currencies. And that's going to set the stage to allow the Antichrist then to basically have a piece of infrastructure or technology in which he can enslave everybody. That's why you see countries around the world that are not part of the banking system get destroyed. There's no accident why Libya got pounded into submission, while Syria is getting pounded into submission. They're outside the banking systems. And so everybody's going to be forced into a banking system so that, then they'll get rid of cash so that you'll have to do these kind of things. So that's what's going to set the stage for the Antichrist and the mark of the beast. But until then, God's pretty clear of what we do with our money is, don't let it control us, right? Don't let it be our God. Have gratitude. I just talked about this with our men's study this weekend, is that, you kind of said people feel guilty when good things happen. We talked about what happens when bad things happen to good people. Yep. All things is gratitude. And also, we have to trust that, God has a plan for us that is beyond our understanding, is beyond this world. We have to have different perspective. God talks about money a lot in the Old Testament, and so right from the very beginning, he knew it was a medium of exchange, and he loved gold because gold was, basically the, gold and silver were mine, he said. So he, those are things that were hard to forge, and there's a reason why gold, one, it was rare, and it was you couldn't destroy it. It's malleable, so you can make it into smaller pieces, yada, yada, yada. So, God knew that you had to have a medium exchange to be able to conduct enterprise and actually to live a better and better lifestyle. You can't do that with barter. And so what I'm sure God probably has a big problem with, I think Jesus had a really big problem with it, is when he went after the people doing the currency exchange in the temple, is that when fiat came into being, is you can create forgeries and cheating. And so then all of a sudden, gold wasn't gold. And what people found out, and I'll give people a little bit of a history lesson here, but it's important, is that people never really went and carried their gold. If you were wealthy, you didn't carry your gold around with you because you would get robbed. So what you did, you held your money into a bank. But it was really goldsmiths and silversmiths were the first banks. And then you carried a piece of script with you of how much you owe, and they had these things called tallywhackers, different ways that you could prove that you owned it. Well, it didn't take long for these people to figure out that most of the rich people never got most of their gold. So what they did was they started lending out that physical gold to other people for interest. And then when you had a crisis happen, gold wouldn't be available and these banks would be shut down. And that's where the first thing of a banking crisis came from. And so gold and silver were considered real money because they didn't have a liability, but fiat is really the demon of Babylon, if you will.
So that was really the downfall of the gold standard that God actually established. Folks, actually, when you read in the creation, right away in the very first chapter of the book of Genesis, God said, and the gold in the land was good. Okay, so it's one of the first things he says. And so he knew a monetary system would need to be set up for humanity to exchange and to build relationships and trade. Like you said, bartering would not work. It just doesn't work. You can barter a little, but you can't carry on in entire businesses. And so gold, silver, very important to God. Matter of fact, right in front of me here is a replica of the Ark of the Covenant. Guess what it is? It's plated in pure gold. It's also the highest conductor of pure energy of any metal on the earth. And so even though it's very rare, it has great properties to it. And so it's been used. Folks, this is Bob Kudla with us at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. You can see there he's got some great specials he's running for the 4th of July, for all of July long. And check out out his website at www.tradegeniusacademy.com. That's www.tradegeniusacademy.com. Look at the basic crypto binary options he's trading, the whole package if you want to learn. A lot of people need to get in control of their destiny. So, Bob, you're giving us a great historical lesson of how money is to be used. And isn't it funny that Satan would go after the very mechanism that man needs to do business and exchange with each other, to try to corrupt it and to leverage it against humanity's ability to survive in the mark of the beast, a leveraging. And so is there leveraging that goes on today in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny that we're having this conversation today. Probably no accident on your part, because gold's about ready to hit all-time highs. Is that the leverage is probably as worst as it's ever been, and in terms of the claims on gold at the gold banks versus the gold that's sitting in those vaults. And there's a reason why the Bank of London or England won't give Venezuela their gold back, is because they don't have it. They can be all self-righteous about who it belongs to, but they don't have it. They've lent it out. And then you also notice in China, they just had a big corruption scandal where I think it was like 40 tons of gold or 400 tons, some ridiculous amount, was really plated tungsten, and they used it for collateral. And so there's just a lot of cheating going on here. And as gold breaks over to all-time highs here, Paul, our measured move is 2,900, at the very next stop for resistance for gold. And when that happens, the miners are going to just blow up. And in fact, today, in my gold and silver watch list that's out there for public companies, there was not a single gold and silver miner that was red today, which means it was losing money in that index. There's one or two that were down, but that index, which is the Philly Gold and Silver Miners Index, was not a single stock was down today. And in fact, we bought a couple even after the open, and we made 3 or 4% on the money for our subscribers. Is that there's the big money is sneaking in. And when this happened in 2010 going into 2011, when gold and silver broke out, it was primarily when silver really ripped. We had basically 300 to 400% moves in this gold and silver miners, and people that were trading with leverage using options. Some of those people made 700-800%. We've already had a 100% move in the miners. I called that basically innings 1 through 3, and now we're looking at going into the 4, 5, 6 to mid innings here for this next move, and it's coming, and it's been relentless, Paul. It's just been grinding up. Gold's up in the last 14 months. Gold is up 54%.
What?
That is an indictment. That is an indictment on the financial systems of the world. And silver, from its March lows, is up almost 80%, although silver's down from its all-time high. So these things could just take off, because when they break out, Paul, those banks have to actually find physical gold and physical silver to pay off their investors. And if they don't, it's called a run. And if it's called a failure to delivery, we had that with platinum and palladium. You can get a quick double in these things. So I mean, the timing's perfect, and it's just a broader thing too, Paul, is that we've had this move in these financial assets for a long time, and they're fiat driven. Jerome Powell and company have been pushing fiat into the system now, and now they went, basically full on to save the monetary systems. And now you have, 6 stocks that are basically running the indexes. Look at Tesla, $246 billion for a company that makes no money.
How can that be? I mean, I understand that Elon Musk created PayPal and was wildly successful with that. And then SpaceX. He's wildly successful with that now, with especially this launch recently. And Tesla, he's great inventor, and I think it's a great car, but economically it's not real feasible, and the company's not really making money. How can it have such a value? Are they betting on a tremendous return down the road? They just believe in this guy? What is the deal?
Yeah, so what's happening in the stock market is none of those things, Paul. It's that the companies with the biggest market capitalization get the inflows of cash at a higher rate and percentage than other stocks in the indexes. So it becomes like a virtuous loop where Apple and Amazon and Microsoft and Netflix and Google and Tesla, and Apple, those companies are getting the lion's share of all new money coming into the indexes because the way they weight it. It's called market capitalization weighting. But if you look at the rest of the market, only 46% of the companies are over the 200-day moving average. I share this with people because when those stocks roll over they will, that's what caused the March collapse, Paul. Those ETFs just give way. And they'll give way again. No matter how good the economy is, you get to a point if the Fed can't keep feeding, and the Fed is slowing down their purchases, if they can't keep feeding the beast, basically the indexes collapse. And it kind of takes everything with them, except now what we're seeing is that there's a shift out of the banking stocks and out of the fiat financialization into more what I would call precious metals and hard commodities, and even Bitcoin and that ilk, where people are going to try to sidestep this system. And I think this next crash, I don't mean like tomorrow kind of crash, I'm talking about when this next thing gives way here over the next, it could be tomorrow all the way up to like 18 months from now. That's going to be the genesis behind, hey, we got to get cash out of the system. We got to lock everybody into the banking systems, and we can cut down on crime. If you're a racist, we can make you poor. If we don't like what you say about the government, we can, or Fauci, we can then freeze your bank accounts, and then we're going to get that. And that's still not the Antichrist.
No.
Then the Antichrist comes. So that's kind of where we are. They're creating these crises, Paul. These people are thinking in decades, and they're creating these crises for people. And look, the best thing you can do is I don't worry about tomorrow. That's the other thing we talked about at our service on Sunday. Tomorrow will take care of itself. So I just wake up every day. What's in front of me? How do I trade it? How do I make money? How do I not be dependent on anybody else's by your leave? I can say anything I want because I generate my own income. Right. So people need to have backup plans, and if you want to just manage your money, you need to know what your financial advisors are doing. I think most people will be shocked to find everything's passive. In the stock market, we pretty much can go home after like 2 hours because nobody sells in the middle of the day because it's all robots. And so nobody's selling unless everybody starts selling. It's kind of like a wildebeest going over the river, right? Everybody sits at the end of the river, and next thing you know, one goes, they all go. Yeah, I go. And that's kind of how the market is now. There's nobody in the loop. It's all been designed to prevent legal jeopardy for a financial advisor by saying, hey, why did Amazon go from 2,000 or 3,000 down to 1,000? I'm suing you for malfeasance. And it'll just say, hey, look, you signed the risk papers. I'm in the thing everybody else is in. I didn't do anything differently. And that's going to be the cause of demise of a lot of portfolios because they're all going to be protected, but your portfolios are going to get hammered.
Folks, Bob Kudla with us. Bob Kudla from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's TradeGeniusAcademy.com. He has been unbelievable. It didn't matter when the stock market was rising or when it was stabilizing or even when it fell a little bit. His folks that are with him, those that have taken and learned of his techniques on how to buy and sell and take control of your own destiny, his results have constantly been great. I mean, it's amazing. It don't matter even when the stock market was going down, you're still hitting like 80% or 80 something percent on the picks, aren't you?
I'm sorry, I lost you there, Paul.
I said even your picks and your techniques of teaching people how to choose, and you give the pointers out with your algorithms. Even when the stock market was going from 2,900 to 1,900 and back up to 2,500, all this time you've still been picking winners, and your folks have still been making money, like 80% win rates. Is that about right?
Yeah. Actually, it's closer to 65, but we make money most days in the market, and because it looks at buying pressure, the algorithm just looks at buying pressure. We look at the trend of the stock position, and we make a buy order, and we're not greedy. That's another biblical precept.
Thank you.
And we manage risk on the downside. But the most important thing is that you're just not relying on me as a guru, which I am not. Is that we'll teach you the techniques. We'll give you the software that has the algorithm results built into it, so that you can have access to it, and you can trade other things besides what we trade. And then finally, we also have stock trades that we provide to you, and then we do that on the cryptocurrencies. We do that with a thing called binary options, which is a really interesting way for people to trade when they're new. And then also we trade stocks, and we trade the futures. So we're grinders, Paul. We're lunch pail traders. Every day we go in there, we try to make money, and we don't promise people Lamborghinis. Those people burn out and flash out. And when the market turns against us, we see that the market's turning against us. So you just step aside, or you buy things that go up when the market goes down. Because we talked about this before. There's always a bull market in something. When we had the stock market crash in 2008, if people would have just bought the long bond and shorted real estate, they would have made 100% on their money in 4 months. So, and those things are available for regular traders. You don't have to be a special Wall Street, access kind of fat cat to get that. These things are available for regular traders. And look, God's given us 2 eyes, right? He's given us 2 ears. It doesn't take a genius to see that all center city real estate is probably doomed. All right, forget COVID. I think the Democratic governors and mayors have destroyed their inner cities. Well, all those rents are tied to property managers who are tied to investment funds for REITs that investors are buying. And when you have 70% of those people in those areas not paying their rent, and you have 12% of the mortgages that are not being made, it's going to affect the value of real estate over time. And those things are going to be reflected in those stocks in the market. And there's going to be tremendous opportunities for people to go long these what they call short real estate ETFs. And we're just watching and waiting for that to happen. Now that we're at zero interest rates, there's no interest rate arbitrage or game they can play to make the value of those assets go up, because interest rates aren't falling anymore. So real estate's only way real estate's going to continue to go up is if you're in a desirable area, and or you could generate more income. And so that's going to be a tremendous opportunity for people to, we call having wisdom, right? Everybody right now is chasing Amazon and Netflix and all those things, and people are going to make a lot of money on the real estate side, shorting the folly of people that piled into those things.
Trade Genius, folks, www.tradegeniusacademy.com. You can pick up the phone and call Bob at 1-800-949-1408. That's 1-800-949-1408. And I would encourage you to go to his website, look at the packages. He can train you and teach you. If you got some money there that you're saying, I'm tired of just watching my 401k tank, okay? You're looking for a way to maybe invest in your ability to choose the stocks you want to buy and sell. Be trained how to do that. Bob Kudla, a Christian man, very family-oriented, very focused, and you've heard his philosophy. We've had him on here every month. He just chip away, blue-collar worker, but making it happen and having the wisdom of God and God's blessing in your life. And you can do this, folks. I'm confident you can. You can listen to his tips and just play along with it. Let him lead you if you want to, and then you'll pick up as you go. Let me ask you this question, Bob, because I really see this coming. I knew gold was going to go up. I still think gold will go over $2,000 an ounce. I think silver is going to hit $30 an ounce within a year as this market settles. I could be wrong. Bitcoin will probably even go up because, again, it's another avenue. And then I'm looking at real estate, and I'm with you. Inner city, urban real estate is going to tank. There's a flight taking place to the suburbs, to the country. Do you look for suburbs, safe suburbs, to all of a sudden in the next 18 months see real estate values go up, even though lending might be tightening? And is lending going to tighten by the banks?
Yeah, no, lending won't tighten because the federal backstop mortgages. And number two is, yeah, I agree with you. It's not a zero-sum game here. Cities are in trouble. Suburbs and exurbs are going to do great. You're going to see a flight out of blue to red. You're going to see a flight of north to south. And I'll give you some examples. I mean, I just talked to one of my investors of something I'm involved in, and they have bought property out in Palm Springs, and in 2 years it has doubled because a lot of people are retiring and leaving LA, but they don't want to leave California, and are making some great money. I own a home that I've been taking care of for my parents for many years. That it's in the Philadelphia, New York, commuter zone, if you will, but it's not near any really big city. And the home sold in one day. And because people are literally leaving New York and Philadelphia, they say, I'll commute in, but I'm getting my family somewhere where it's safe.
Yep.
And I was surprised because I live in California where real estate's kind of like a food group. And Pennsylvania and those places where prices never really moved. So I was shocked to find out there's no inventory on the markets whatsoever, and people are just are looking and almost in panic to find something outside of these cities and trying to dump their properties in these cities. Look at San Francisco. I think rents are down 14%. I think in New York, I think sales of properties are down 40% in sales. So I think when this thing becomes apparent, in Wall Street in terms of these REITs not being able to provide these dividends, I think it'll be an avalanche. But if you're smart and wise, and remember, colleges used to be the greatest place for you to own rental property, right? Well, now all these universities are going online, right? And we're finding out half these degrees are worthless. So and the demographics are working against kids, that age. And so you just have to kind of be wise as to where you want to buy real estate, and, basically anywhere close to a blue state that's red is, if you don't have state income tax, those areas are going to do really well. But if you're a blue state, I think you're in trouble. I mean, I think when they did the COVID, when they were doing the track and trace of the metadata of the phones, out of New York, when they were telling people they had to lock down, people basically were bailing out of New York. They were bailing out of Illinois, bailing out of California, and they were going to Arizona and Texas and Florida. These were just people who were just moving to get out of there, just to get away from it. That's becoming more permanent.
Yes.
And I think you're going to see people roll there. And then especially out here with Seattle and Portland melting down, I can imagine that Salt Lake and Boise and I would call the exurbs of Denver, not Denver itself, are going to do extremely well.
Bob Kudla, folks, TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Bob Kudla with us at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Put that phone number on the screen, Brock. If you want to call, I think it would be a great thing to do. Find out how to get in the system. He's running great specials for the month of July. It's 1-800-949-1408. I mean, 1-800-949-1408. He has his own chat room there where like-minded people get in there that are learning, who understand. There's some more experienced traders in there that can be very helpful with pointers. There's new traders that are joining in because they're taking his class, they're learning his academy, learning his techniques, getting his software that's gives you so much of a head start and leads. And listen to this, folks. Money and the mark of the beast. I love what you said, Bob, to start the broadcast. That is, God is not going to leave us to be tricked. You're going to see this thing coming. You'll know it's the mark. You have to deny Christ. You have to give up all of your personal faith values in God. You're not going to do it, folks, okay? So I need you to relax, take a deep breath. You're going to be fine. You got to trust the Lord right now, day to day. But the mechanisms to bring about the mark of the beast, they're definitely being developed and worked on, and you can see that coming. That's why it's so important that people get their life right with the Lord and be ready. Take it one day at a time. Bob, I think also you're dead on the money with how the precious metals, how the stock market, how the gold, how the property values are going to change, how you can see which way they're going, just flow with it. And it's so true that people are fleeing these blue states. And let me ask you one question, so we're almost out of time. So if Antifa and all the rioting and all of this stuff created all this chaos in these major cities and everybody's fleeing the blue states, then why would a Biden presidency, how can Biden win an election when everybody wants to get away from the madness? How does bringing the madness to the country, how does that work if everybody wants to get away from the madness?
Well, I mean, look, I would have to say there'd be some electoral deception. Is that a good way of putting it?
That's a nice way to say they're going to rob us. Or they're
but there's a lot of people though that, they believe the lie, right?
Yeah.
So they're being told. We have a generation of people here that have been told that they've been wronged, and now they're going to be able to basically reap the riches of America if we can just pry it out of the hands of the oppressors. And so there's a lot of people, enough people believe that, then, hey, I just saw an article, a video of a lady from Venezuela who said we never thought it would happen here. And she said it started with the statues, and then it started with you losing your job, and then it was the mobs, and then next, here and there, next thing you know it, we went from one of the richest countries of South America now to being under a dictator. So, people just have to guard and I know we're the silent majority, but, you have to have courage, and you have to tell people wrong is wrong. And you can't be afraid. You don't have to be rude about it. You just have to simply say, wrong is wrong. Where in the past has this ever worked? Show me. And don't accept Sweden. Sweden works because it's full of Swedes. It's a one-off country, and it's just those people have to be really, really. You're gonna have to be bold, because once this thing goes, it's hard to unwind. And so, but I have faith, and I just think that a lot of people won't tell the truth to pollsters because you don't want to get canceled. I don't owe a pollster the truth. That doesn't violate the 10 Commandments. I owe my integrity to brothers and sisters in Christ, and me being honest in dealings with the government. But I don't owe a pollster, my integrity. So either you don't answer their question or you can just obfuscate. So, I think a lot of people are doing that. Who's going to tell a pollster, yeah, I'm voting for Trump? Next thing you know, you have people at your house, right? I think people aren't stupid.
Right. You know,
And I just want to correct one thing too before we go.
Okay.
I put those specials on till Saturday, Paul, not the whole month of
Oh,
July.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, you're right. They're till Saturday. So, guys, as Brock has been putting them up on the screen, they're through Saturday. Get the specials now, okay? Take advantage of. This is the moment. Really, this is the greatest moment for you to learn. Some of you have lost your job, or your job's cut, your hours are cut in half, and you just, you're depending on the system, and sometimes you gotta be the one that steps up and takes some initiative and let God bless you and trust God. And you can trust Bob Kudla because he'll help you. This guy's been doing it a long time, and he really does love the Lord. You've seen that today in this broadcast. I think that's why I was doing it. Money in the Mark of the Beast. I wanted people to understand that God wants you to be blessed. He does. He loves you. You pray for blessings. He hears you. And I'm going to render to Caesar that's Caesar's, but I'm going to render to God's that's God. And I give my tithe and offering to God every week. I trust God. And I've done that my whole life. And I believe that by doing that, God will bless you. You said something else, Bob. We're going to let you go here. Go to his website, get his information. Be sure you do that and get started, guys. I think you'll be blessed and you'll be thankful you did. This has been a great program. Maybe this was so important. And when you think about communism, they're tearing down the statues, guys. This has happened in Stalin. And this is Russia, this is Cuba, this is China, this is Argentina, here we go again. And let me tell you what's next. It happened in California just last week. They tried to tear statues down in front of a Catholic church, and the nuns went out there and stood in front of it and prayed, and the looters and the rioters went away. But I'm going to promise you something. They're going to start tearing down the statues in front of the churches. They'll start tearing crosses off the top of the steeples. They'll come after the churches next. So you have to have faith down in here. Get it here in case things even get worse. But I think Trump's going to win the election. I think he's going to fight hard. He's not our Savior. Jesus is. And Bob, I appreciate what you're doing, because what you're doing is actually really a ministry, if you will, to help people during this time to kind of get in control of their own destiny. And I want to thank you.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
Yep. Good stuff, folks. TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's www.tradegeniusacademy.com. And go check it out, guys. You'll be glad you did. God bless all of you. I'll see you guys next time right here. Are you serious?